Welcome to Solutions Studio. This is a free series on C programming language. If you like these videos, please subscribe to follow along with this series. Also, please like and leave a comment and share the video to help spread this series. Hello and welcome to this episode. And in this episode, we would like to have a brief introduction about pointers in C programming language. I would like you to know that in C programming language, pointers is one of the most powerful features that we have in this programming language. Using pointers, we can accomplish pass by reference. You know that in the previous episodes, we always passed to functions by value. Now we will be able to pass variables to functions by reference. And then we can also pass one function to another function, which is a very useful feature. Also, we will be able to manipulate strings and arrays using pointers and also create and manipulate dynamic data structures that grow and shrink at execution time. And such dynamic data structures are linked lists, queues, stacks, and trees, and we will be able to manipulate and bring changes to these type of data structures using pointers. Stay tuned as we cover more about pointers in the coming episodes. Hello and welcome to this episode, and in this episode we will have a definition of a pointer variable. So pointers are variables whose values are memory addresses. And as you know that usually we have variables that they directly contain a specific value. A pointer, however, is different, that it contains the address of another variable that contains a specific value. The pointer points to that variable. In this sense, a variable name directly references a value and a pointer indirectly references a value, as it's shown in the diagram that you see here. So referencing a value through a pointer is called indirection. And that's it for this episode. Stay tuned as we cover pointers in more details in the coming episodes. Welcome to this episode, and in this episode we want to discuss about declaring pointers. So pointers, like all variables that we have seen in this series, they must be defined before they can be used. The statement that you can see in here defines this counter, which has the name of the count pointer. It declares it to be as an integer. And this definition is read from right to left. That means that the count pointer points to an object of type integer. And the asterisk that you can see in here, it indicates that the variable is a pointer. And we also have our own convention is to end each pointer variable's name with PTR indicator, so that it indicates that the variable is a pointer and should be handled accordingly. Other common and naming conventions that we might have is to have a P before the variable name, or to have a P and an underscore before the variable name, and these are also conventions to show that the variable is a pointer. And that's it for this episode. Stay tuned as we discuss pointers in more details in the coming episodes. Hello and welcome to this episode, and in this episode we have a recommendation for you, and that is to define variables in separate statements. As you can see in here in this statement, we have defined this variable as a pointer, and we have used this indicator asterisk. And we also have another variable called count. Now this pointer indicator does not distribute to this variable and also to this variable. In fact, this pointer indicator only applies to the first variable. Now, it's always better to, instead of writing the definition of the variables like this, it's better to have it in two separate statements so that it doesn't have any ambiguity and it's clear as possible. So always to have your definition statements, especially if they are of two types, one normal variable and one pointer variable, have them in two separate statements and in two separate lines. And that's it for this episode. Stay tuned as we discuss pointers in more details in the coming episodes. Hello and welcome to this episode, and in this episode we are going to initialize and assign some values to some pointers. It's always a good practice to initialize pointers whenever they are defined. And a pointer can be initialized in three ways. The first way is to initialize it to a null, the second way is to initialize it to a value of 0, or the third way is to initialize it to a variable address. A pointer that has been initialized to null, it points to nothing. Null is a symbolic constant with the value of 0, and this constant is defined in the header standard definition, and it's also defined in the standard input-output header as well. Initializing a pointer to 0 is equivalent to initializing it to a null. The constant null is preferred because it emphasizes that you're initializing a pointer rather than a variable, that is, storing a number. When 0 is assigned to a pointer, it is first converted to a pointer of the appropriate type. And 0 is in fact the only integer value that can be assigned directly to a pointer variable. Assigning a variable address to a pointer, we will discuss it in the coming episodes, and as we said before, initializing pointers to prevent unexpected result is always recommended. And that's it for this episode. I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to see you in the coming episodes. Stay tuned.